Hi, Ray Hayden here, and this is an unboxing video, and this is for the Ryobi 40V lithium-ion brushless electric battery-powered chainsaw. Right out of the box, this is pretty much the way the thing is sitting in the box, and that's really all there is to it. It has a battery charger with it, comes with a charger, a rapid charger at that, and it also comes with a 4 amp hour 40V battery. Now this battery right here is the same footprint as, there's a 4 amp, I have a 3 amp hour battery that's the same size. I have two 2.6 amp hour batteries, same size, same footprint, and I have one that's a little bit shorter, and it is a 0.55 amp hour battery. Okay, it still works in this chainsaw. That little battery still works in this chainsaw, but it's the same 40V system, so it has the same footprint and the same connection. I'll show you how that connection works in a minute. The first thing I did when I unboxed this thing was I checked the battery on the charger, because this is the second version of this particular chainsaw that I have. The other one just died on me the other day. I couldn't do any more work with it. I don't know what happened with it. It just simply stopped working. Now, I have other tools that I can test my batteries in, so it's not like I don't know if the battery's working or not, because I do have other tools. I have other chargers. These batteries can charge on any of the chargers that I have. This is now the 4th charger that I have, and the second quick one like this. All the batteries charge up pretty quickly on any of the battery chargers that I have, and I have, like I said, I have 2 of this type and I have 2 of a larger type, and they all charge up well, charge up pretty quickly on those things. And because I don't need all the batteries at the same time, I can rotate them around while they're charging while I'm doing work with the chainsaw or whatever other tool I'm using. It's a blower, the edger, the weed whacker, or something called a rotary cutter. I'll make an update video with that thing in a little bit. It's been doing just a tremendous amount of work. The original chainsaw that I had from Ryobi, of this model kind of thing, had a top loading battery compartment. So basically you drop the battery in, I think it was like this. You drop the battery in the top of the unit. So it's like right about here, boom, the thing just sat right in there. You can see your battery, you could push the button and check your charge and everything right there on it. Everything was great. But the thing is, I noticed is they have a new battery. They have a 7.5 amp battery. It's very expensive. But if you bought it, it's bigger. So it was not going to fit. This one here just fit nice and snug in the old version, in the original version, version 1, I call it. And this is version 2, right? So in the version 1 chainsaw, this would fit in there. This is the biggest battery you could fit in there. The 7.5 amp battery is larger. It would not fit in that other chainsaw, which to me is pretty much they were doing their work and their design and everything else, and that's why they came out with this one here. It's got an empty bottom on the the bottom part of it. It doesn't have a cage around the whole battery. And I'm thinking, well, that might be bad for safety of the battery, but in all honesty, when you put that battery on, you got extra space below, unlimited extra space below. So if you had a taller battery, it would still work in this unit, so that's fine. Now I'm going to, for safety's sake, remove the battery, take off this guard. I just want to touch the power thing. All right, so I heard the motor turn a little bit of charge got into the unit, and I don't want to be unsafe with the chainsaw, shall we say, right? So anyway, so here's the battery for it. It's a 4 amp hour battery, 40V system. It just slides right onto the battery charger, all right? And I'm just going to put this back on the power so it can charge. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and the reason why I want to put that on charger right away, right out of the box, is because the last unit that I purchased, the battery, the 4 amp hour battery, which is an expensive battery, was dead. It was just dead on arrival. So I called Ryobi up, and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "This thing's dead on arrival. I've done everything. I've read all the instructions and everything, and the manuals and all that. I've done everything I could, and this thing's not working. Plus, I have the other 2 chargers." Said I had 3, right? So I had the other 2 chargers from the original purchases. I tried it on all of the chargers, and it wouldn't charge up at all. And it was not hot. It wasn't a hot battery because the battery, had never been used by me. So it came to me kind of pretty much out of power. It would not take a charge at all. So Ryobi, as they should, sent me a new battery, and everything was great. So that 4 amp battery works fantastic. The thing about the batteries that I want to talk about, though, is on the original unit that I bought, the one where you drop the battery in the top, on that particular unit, I had returned 2 batteries to get a new battery, right? So I took the battery back, went and picked up a new battery, and got an exchange on a new battery. In thinking about it after the fact, though, I think that those weren't effective. And what happened is I'd been using the chainsaw, I took the battery off of the chainsaw and because it was running low on power. I put it on my charger and it was flashing defective. So the charger flashes red and green, red and green. That means the thing's defective and the battery is defective. Unfortunately, that's not all that means. It also means your battery is too hot. Wait for it to cool off, then put it on the charger. And the reason for that is to protect the battery and the charger, right? So you want to not hurt your battery. You don't want to hurt your charger. You want to take care of your equipment. And one of the things that was not in, maybe I'll check this book here. Maybe it's in the instructions here. I haven't read this yet, but I'll look it over real well and see if it's in there. Because if you have been using the tool to the point where the battery and the tool just stop working, the tool stopped working because the battery's been depleted or it doesn't have enough power to supply your tool the power it wants, and you go to try to recharge it and it says it's defective because it's flashing red and green or whatever it does, then I'd suggest, touch your battery. If it feels warm, it's too hot, put it, I have those baker rack kind of things. It's like it's a wire mesh kind of thing, or wire rack. And I put my batteries on these things and they cool off real quick. They got airflow all around them and everything else. They cool off pretty quickly. And like anywhere from a half hour to an hour, I was out there working, doing something else on the property. I come back and then I try the battery again. And usually they start charging up right away and they're good. Everything's good. So if your battery is weakened out, then you go try to charge it and it says your battery is defective, I'd say take your battery off the charger, let it sit for about half an hour or an hour, try it again, and it should start charging. And that should be the problem solved right then and there. I see a lot of people say in reviews, I've seen a lot of reviews, it doesn't matter who it is, on which manufacturer or whatever, they say, hey, the battery just died on me. I went, the tool stopped working. I know enough about batteries, this, that, and the other thing. I put it on the charger and it wouldn't charge. Well, maybe it's too hot. So I don't know about different manufacturers and stuff, but with the Ryobi 40V system, if the battery's hot when you put it on the charger and it says it's defective, disconnect it from the charger, leave it out, on a cool, dry surface, let the thing cool off, at about half hour, an hour later, put it back on, and if it starts charging, it's good to go. It's going to charge up and everything's fine. So that was the question on the batteries. Let's go through the tool itself. It's pretty simple, right? If you ever played the game Doom, all right, then you know what a chainsaw is good for, right? Find some meat. Here's the deal. It comes with a cover on it for the blade and the chain. That's really nice. Believe it or not, I forget this out in the field which way this thing goes on. You can put it on either way, but it's not going to go all the way on. If Ryobi's pointing up towards the top of the saw, you're putting it on the right way, but also it curves under, right? So that curve right there that you see in the cover curves under. So that's the bottom of the saw, right? So you just put this thing on and everything's great. And it's protected, right? So you just slide that on this way here, and that's the way it goes, right? So it's protected. Of this saw, I'm gonna leave this on here. I don't really need to take that off at this point. All right, so the things that I don't like about this saw, let's go into the things I don't like. These are two nuts right here. There's two posts that come out of the side of the saw, and these go through the what's called the bar. The chain goes around the sprockets and everything. Sprockets are on this bar. That's what it's called, this whole thing that's under there. This here, that's the bar, and the chain rides around on the bar, okay? So these two screws stick out from the side of the chainsaw, and you have these two nuts on there to hold it on and secure it. To tighten up the chain, you have to loosen both of these screws here, and then turn. There's a screw right here underneath the back one, the one that's right here by the Ryobi name. There's a screw right there. So you have to put in your flathead screwdriver and turn that. And it's like, oh great, now I need more tools. And the actual truth is, you don't, because they have it built right into the chainsaw. Now, truth be known, I do use the other tools. I have a ratchet set that I bring with me, or a ratchet and a socket, and I have a flathead screwdriver that I bring with me. Because this is kind of a pain to turn. It's not enough, you can't get enough torque on this thing without hurting your hand, in my opinion. And that works good on the screwdriver part. And then the ratchet set I use there. And I just have it, I bring it with me out there when I'm working. When I bring the chainsaw out there in the wooded area and I'm doing some work with the chainsaw, I bring the ratchet and the screwdriver with me. But as a backup, I have this little item right here, and it just plugs right into the bottom. Just slides right into the bottom of the chainsaw and fits right there. Come on, snap in. Did I put it in the wrong way? No, I didn't. There we go. Actually, I was pushing too hard. It just goes right in. Now, again, on the other side, the battery slides in the side. There is no bottom case for the battery. So you don't want to drop this thing too hard on anything. You don't want to drop it on a rock or anything like that. Hurt your battery. You don't want to really drop your chainsaw anyway. But if you have the bigger battery, hopefully I mentioned the 7.5 amp battery is bigger. So because it's bigger and there's no bottom here, the more powerful battery, which would work great in this particular saw, will fit. Okay. What else do we have to talk about? Let's talk about think about this thing up here as a chain brake on a gas-powered chainsaw or most chainsaws. There is a safety, a hand safety thing here. Looks like that big handle right there. If this thing, it's called a kickback. The saw, you're cutting, and the saw kicks back at you. Very, very dangerous condition, right? So for safety's sake, the manufacturers put a chain brake on the saw, and that's usually right here. When you're holding on to the chainsaw and the thing kicks back, it hits your hand, which throws this lever forward, right? It looks like it's actually a lever, but this one here doesn't move. This is just a hand guard. That's all it is, all right? A chain brake would slide forward, snap into position forward, stops the chain from spinning like that instantly, right? So to protect you. I mean, you might get hit with the saw and a blade, but at least it's not spinning and you'll still be hopefully in one piece, right? This is only a hand guard. Now, the only reason I can think for that in any way, shape, or form is because when I let go of the trigger on this thing, when I release the trigger, the chain stops pretty fast. It's not instant, but it slows down instantly. It's instantly slowing down to stop. But it's not an instantaneous stop, but it stops very quickly. You're probably working somewhat close to the ground anyway. So when you let the trigger go and the thing stops, and by the time I put it on the ground, the blade's already stopped spinning, right? And as it was slowing down the entire time. So it's like automatically braking anyway, but it stops pretty quickly, but it's not instant. So you got to be aware of that. This is not a chain brake. It's only a hand guard in case this thing kicks back. In case of a kickback, though, the positioning of the front handle here for steadiness and all that, and the position of the back handle here are in good position because our hands are further apart. If you had a top handle one, your hands are close together, right? If you have this is called the back handle. When you get the back handle one, and if this thing kicks up and hits your hand here at the top part here, your other hand is far enough back to, kind of pull back and lift up on it from the back, lift the back part up to prevent the chain coming too close to your body. When you don't want the thing coming straight up at you anyway. You really don't want to be working on this way. You want to be a little bit off to the side, right? It gives you a little bit more protection and safety for yourself while you're out there working. So we thought, the thumb. That has a thumb release here. You have to pull the thumb release here in order to pull the trigger. You can't pull the trigger unless you pull the thumb release, the safety, right? Once you do pull the trigger, you don't have to keep your thumb there. In fact, I'd say wrap your hand around the handle. So once you pull the thumb release and pull the trigger to start the chain rolling or spinning, just wrap your hand around the hole and hold it for safety's sake and comfort and convenience and be in control of your saw. So that's it. So that's the thumb release there. And when you pull the thumb release the thumb release down or pull it back towards you, then you can pull the trigger, but you don't have to hold that thumb release. You let it go and hold on to the saw. This handlebar here wraps around this side. It doesn't wrap around big on this side here. It could have, but it doesn't do that. And it would take a little bit different engineering to get that to happen on this particular saw. This is the chute where all the stuff comes out, all the wood chippings. I guess it's good to know if you didn't know. The chain goes out from the top. So the top chain is shooting away from you, and it goes around the corner here and it comes back towards you. So it's coming towards you on the bottom of your saw, all right? When it's coming through here, it's dropping all the wood chips and dust and everything. All the stuff that you've been cutting comes out here and shoots down towards the ground, all right? I've never been hit with anything that was bothersome or anything like that. It just works well. And there is one quick thing. It's like you have to change this saw or sharpen this saw or do whatever thing you want to do with the chain. These teeth right here, okay, are the taller one here, the shiny one on the top there, right, where you see the reflections. That's the biting tooth there. I don't know what it's called actually, but that's where it's sharp. If you just touch it, you feel it's sharp. And if you pull your finger, if you rub your hands backwards lightly here, don't do this, right? But if you were, you'd be hitting dull parts of metal. If you did it up here, you just touch them, that's real sharp. So you want the sharp part going out on the top and coming in on the bottom. Sharp, so when you change your chain, if the chain jumps off the bar or anything like that happens and you have to reset your chain, and the chain fell off or something like that, and you kind of came off the saw when you were taking it apart and everything to reset it, right? And you're like, oh, which way does this thing go? Well, just know that the sharp part goes away from you on the top, comes back at you on the bottom, and if you forget all that, there's a little picture right here on the bar to help you. However, when you use the bar for a little bit and you start using your saw for a little bit, that little picture is going to go bye-bye. It's going to disappear, all right? Go through a couple of logs. Then you just need to know, sharp out on top, sharp, is come at you at the bottom, all right? So then you always know which way your chain goes and you're good to go. Yeah, the big thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have a tool-less tensioner. In order to tension this thing, you have to release these two nuts. You don't have to take them off, just loosen them up, and then you have to turn that screw to tension it up. And you need tools to do that. Toolless has a big knob on the side. Turn it backwards or forwards or whatever. You turn it one way to unlock it, and you turn it the other way or do something with some tool right there, and you just tighten it up. And you tighten it up very well. And I should talk about the tightening of the chain, to put the tension on the chain. Usually when you're pulling on the bottom of the chain, thing keeps coming off. When you pull on it and you let go and it just snaps back into place, that's a pretty tight chain. That's good. Okay, so you probably got the right tension right there. If the thing's hanging down, every now and then you'll see a chain where a chain's hanging down. That's rather too loose. You might want to tighten that up. Put the tension on there. If you had toolless tensioning, you could do it right there on the side. Just and the one I was looking at, you turn it backwards and then unlocks it, and then you turn it forwards and you tighten up your chain. Easy as pie. It's just so easy. And no tools involved, anything like that. It's great. It's fantastic, right? So, but because I would have had to buy very, very expensive batteries and I didn't have any tools in that battery system, it was way too much money for me to justify spending. So, and the other item that is kind of interesting is this is a window so you can see how much bar oil. You have to oil up your chain and your bar while you're using it, and this will do that for you automatically. Most of the chainsaws will. Some of them have a manual button or something that you push on it to give it more oil. That's fine, but this one here does it automatically. I've seen a couple of reports, and I will agree with them, that this tends to use a lot of oil, but it's probably trying to preserve the tool, right? So you just got to make sure that you have enough oil in here. Also, guess what? You're cutting wood debris, dust, sand, and all that kind of stuff flying all over the place. This window gets kind of dirty, right? You still see it and you still see through it and stuff like that, but it's going to get like sawdust and stuff on it and things like that. So it's still, you just got to make sure that you're looking at it, at a level, make sure it's level, and look at it, make sure you got oil in there, okay? If not, refill it and you'll be good to go. The untwisting of this can be a real pain in the neck. Right now it's fine because it's brand new. There's no dust or dirt or anything anywhere, and it's easy to turn. But there's two little knobs up here, all right? If I have my screwdriver with me, or if I didn't have my screwdriver with me in the field, but I had this little device right here, on out, you can just lay this in here, right, like that, and turn it, right? So you can use this to kind of torque this thing open. So that's nice. I wouldn't over torque it closed, but if your hands are slippery or whatever, you've just been handling bar oil, right? Or a gallon of bar oil or whatever. So anyway, so you might just want to just tighten this up just a little bit more than you can with your hands because you got oil all over your hands, right? But to loosen it up, if the thing gets tight on you or something like that and you're going to put the bar oil in there, you can just use this little tool that is attached to the device, or a screwdriver. If this gets lost or anything and you're just using a screwdriver anyway, just put your little screwdriver right in there, right in between the two knobs, and boop, and just loosen it right up, and then you're good to go. This thing here is also on a tether, so you won't lose the cap, all right? You shouldn't lose the cap because it's right there on a tether, all right? It doesn't, so it's attached to your saw the whole time, right? So you're good to go. Anyway, and then this device right here again is on the bottom. This little, they call it, what do they call this thing? It's a screw driver and a wrench. They call it a scrench. I've seen it called a scrench. That's kind of funny. That's kind of an adorable name for the thing. The battery, I don't have any problems with the battery compartment in any way, shape, or form. I did mention the thing about it not having the bottom. The reason for it not having the bottom is, number one, the battery is built pretty tough. The battery, that's not the battery itself. That's a case around a whole bunch of batteries that are in there. They got pictures online. You can see what these things look like. They give you an exploded view kind of thing, what the batteries really look like inside the battery. So the battery casing alone is, pretty. I think they're pretty robust. Hadn't had any problems with any of them. So that's not bad for a base of the chainsaw anyway, but for the larger batteries that don't fit that normal footprint, they will also fit in the chainsaw. So I think that was a good idea for the design. And what else was there? Talked about the handguard, talked about the oil filter. Oh, there's one more thing, not oil filter, the oil reservoir. This is in the front of the chainsaw. So when you're working, you're thinking about working, you're not thinking about looking at the little window. I've seen a lot of other models where the window is on the side, and it could have been on the side. As far as I can tell, there's nothing here that would have prevented this little window from being on the side. But if this window was on the side, it would be easier to see, because as you're working with it, you're standing on that side, you're working, you just look at the window. Hold the thing level, look at the window, see if you got enough oil in there or whatever to keep working. And if not, just bring your oil out there with you in the field. If you're going to work like I work, I'm going to be like 300 feet from my front door here, so I need to go out there and bring the oil with me while I'm doing it, right? So I know I always have it on there. Bring my funnel, bring my oil, and so I can get the job done. That's going to be pretty much wrap it up for this. It's the Ryobi 40V brushless, and the brushless is just talking about the electric engine going around. On the brushed ones, they had brushes on the inside of it that do conduct electricity back. I'm no expert on this, but I get the idea. And without the brushes, there's nothing touching, right? They're using electromagnetic field and everything else to drive the motor. So the motor doesn't heat up as much. It's still going to get warm or whatever, but it's not going to get hot like a brushed one was, because it's creating friction, right, inside the electric engine. And then the other thing is that it can run cooler, longer. And even with that, though, this is not a professional. It's a dangerous tool, but it's not a professional tool. You're not going to be a professional arborist climbing up a 300-foot tree and limbing it with this. That's just not going to happen. This is not meant to be used all day, every day, in every way. It's not meant for that. It's meant to do some light cutting, light trimming, light pruning every so often. And the way I actually use it, even though I have a wooded area and I'm clearing out the wooded area to make it a shady field area over time, this is not being used every day, all day. It only gets used every now and then, mostly to prune trees more than anything else. However, that said, some of the limbs that I'm pruning weigh more than a car. Okay, they're very, very big limbs. They're these crazy oak trees, and it's hardwood also. So the saw is working a little bit harder than I would expect it to do. The first version of this thing, the version 1 that I had, it died. I had it a good long time. It lasted me over a year, I believe. And it did far more work than I ever expected that it could possibly handle. It cut down some cut up. Some big trees fell over in Hurricane Irma locally here. That first version of this saw, the one with the battery that went through the top, that saw cut far more than I expected would ever be able to do. Some very, very thick trunks of the trees that got knocked over. It cut down some pretty big limbs of other trees that I didn't want to fall over because they were now out of balance with this really heavy limb. It also cut down some limbs to protect other trees or other things on the property that I didn't get it. Because if a storm comes by, Spanish moss gets heavy from the rain and everything else, and the limb breaks, I don't want like our well house where our water well comes from and everything. I don't want that getting crushed by a branch. Okay, I see some other things in a wooded area where some branches are dead. I'm gonna have to prune them off. So these saws have done the first 2 versions, and I killed them both. But the first 2 versions did far more work than I ever expected they were ever designed to ever do at all. This one here, I hope I get the same kind of work out of it. And if so, and this is a key feature here, the price I paid for this thing here, as of the publishing of this thing, I think the saw itself, all by itself, goes for less than 150 bucks. Okay, so less than $150 US as of the publishing of this video, right? This kit came with the 4 amp hour battery and the charger as well. And I think the whole thing was just under $300 before tax in the United States. Okay, so I think it was, I think it was $199. Let me get that straight. It's less than 150 bucks just for the saw. Okay, and the way this is right here. Okay, so that's 150 bucks today as a publishing. The battery and the charger are included with it as part of the kit, and that makes it $199 as of the publishing of this at Home Depot, right? I think that's the only place you really get it. And then that's the price of it, right? So that's what it is as of the publishing of this video. That's what I paid for it. So, or Misdemeanor and I, right? My wife, Misdemeanor, and I. So it was 150 bucks. Either you just get the saw. They had the tool only. You could have bought it for 150 bucks. And they already had the batteries. I already got the batteries. So I didn't really need to buy batteries but the price difference from $150 to $199, so $50 is less money than the battery costs more than that, and the charger also would cost more. So to get the savings on the additional battery, and I already have the additional tools. We got the edger, we got the string trimmer, we got a rotary cutter, and we have a blower. So we have all these Ryobi things that take the same exact battery. So we already got the batteries, why not get the same chainsaw? Again, because they've done really good work for me. So yes, indeed, I did kill 2 of these saws. I killed version 1 and version 2. This is the second version 2 for me, third chainsaw, and value, dollar for dollar, price per pound kind of thing. They've done very, very good work for the price. We could have hired somebody to come out and do the work. If I could do it myself, dramatically cheaper than hiring somebody else to come out and do the work that I've been able to do with these saws. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm going to ask you to give me a thumbs up, like this video, drop a thumbs up down there. Make a comment below. Let me know you came by to say hi. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate the growth on the network. And until I catch you in the next video, take care and be well.